With the Nintendo Switch 2 finally, officially revealed, and Splatoon 3 confirmed as backwards compatible, it's time to discuss the possible two futures for this series. While Splatoon 4 in 2026 or 2027 seems the most likely, there's a lot of concern with the game being made too fast and not getting enough time, which has been a common problem with the series. But there's obviously pressure to get a new game out for the new system. There is one more possibility though. Since the game is technically ported to the Switch 2, what if we just got another year of content or something of that time frame? After all, with a high likelihood of Joy-Cons being able to be used like a mouse, it makes sense that now would be a great time to push an online shooter to draw attention to these changes. So it makes sense to show off Splatoon here. When it comes to these features, I think the most important thing is that they drastically improve accessibility of the series to newer audiences, such as those who come from other PC shooters and don't want to learn a new control scheme. I believe it's a major win for this series where one of its biggest problems is barriers of entry, and online and control schemes are two of Splatoon's biggest hurdles for new people to get into. So in my mind, there's an undoubtable hardware reason to really be pushing this series right now. So let me discuss the possibilities for if a content extension might be a better way to allow that to happen sooner, or should we just wait for Splatoon 4? This video is going to be very speculative, more than usual, just throwing ideas for these two possibilities. So keep that in mind, be sure to subscribe, and let's get started. So if we do get a content extension, there's one big question. Would this extension be free or paid? Typically, single-player expansions have been paid while multiplayer have not. But that could change given the massive gap in time since the last actual season we had. So let's get the easy part out of the way first and talk about single-player, since it would be easy to assume that that would be paid. Do you guys remember all the way back, way in early 2023, with the initial trailer for Inkopolis Plaza and Side Order? They were showing off the waves with these unique colors, and there were 4 total, which gives the possibility for a wave 3 or 4, which you could maybe say Splatoon 2's hub would be wave 3 in this case, I don't know. But even if that theory did hold no weight, I think there's plenty of room for an expanded story. You could do one based off the Final Fest results, you could try to make one with more underdeveloped characters like Deep Cut or Agent 4, or even a Salmon Run storyline with Little Judd to wrap that up before the next game. Plenty of stuff that would make sense to get over with before Splatoon 4. Any of that could still work, but again, this would absolutely be paid content to me. Though I think if we do get single player content, the multiplayer side would definitely be free and go alongside it, as that is still the main game. Another technical possibility for updates is actually Side Order. I could totally see them adding a few more enemies, floors, or an endless mode. Though if they do update this, to me, it would have to be something that's free. I can't imagine them charging for DLC for an add-on of a paid DLC already. So I would say this update is alongside that of multiplayer ones. It would have to drop as some kind of seasonal content, wouldn't be paid in any way, but it could be a cool way to expand on that mode. I think there could be more done with Side Order. Moving on to multiplayer. There is one thing to expand content with that is really obvious and been in discussion for a while. That's right, third kits. This is currently the biggest unsolved mystery we have right now, since new code was added for potential third kits as late as December 2024, far after they stopped adding new weapons to the game. And if these were being saved for some kind of content extension on the Switch 2, that would explain a lot. If we do get an expansion though, I think that these are a given. I see no universe in which we get an extension on Splatoon 3 content but don't also get third kits, especially given that these give a lot of room for trailer material. It would probably be similar to what we saw with the Kensa collection back in Splatoon 2. Another possible thing we could see in the content extension is a while back we had the buy names for a 4th Splatana and Stringer. Those could be new main weapons we would get, though I think that's all we'd likely see. A new class is not something I'd consider likely, and Splatoon 3 already has plenty of new weapons they put in the game, though it would still draw more interest. However, this brings me to my main problem with the content extension. What more do you add in terms of major features? Because I don't think there's much outside of weapon kits and a new mode. Obviously, we haven't gotten a ranked mode in this game, and it's something that's heavily requested. But outside of that, I mean, you could add a little bit more music and some stage reworks, which would definitely be helpful, but I'm not sure there's too many major additions, since there's already plenty of stages, or specials, subs, or alternate modes, like challenges. Though I suppose they could do a little bit in these areas if they really wanted to. And stage reworks would still be a big deal if they were willing to brand the game around that, which I doubt. There is a different area in multiplayer though that I think does have a lot of room for content, though I'm not sure if they'd run with it, which is Salmon Run. This mode has a ton of scrapped modes, limited stages, only one rotation, and plenty of room for new salmonids, boss salmonids, and king salmonids. While Salmon Run is doing fine right now, I think the possibility is really out there to expand on this mode, and I would love to see more done with it. Now here's the big question about a content extension for multiplayer. If it was multiplayer only, would it be paid content instead of free? In 3 games, multiplayer updates have never been paid content. However, given the duration between the current amount of Splatoon 3 content and whenever this would come out, as well as trying to make money with the Nintendo Switch 2, I wouldn't really be surprised if they did end up charging for multiplayer content, like a cycle of third kits for instance, or did some hybrid between some paid content and some free one. At the end of the day, if this is going to be worth their time, they gotta make some money, and I'm not sure if counting on exclusively new Nintendo Switch 2 users buying Splatoon 3 is gonna be enough here. So while I would obviously prefer it's not paid, I would understand it this time. With all that being said though, a content extension is not without sacrifice. It makes Splatoon 4 a much later release, and there's only so much you can do expanding off Splatoon 3, like I mentioned earlier. So for some people, what they might need to get back into the Splatoon series would have to be things you can only do with a brand new game, which is definitely a factor here. And having that be pushed back even further for Splatoon 3 to get a content extension might not be something people would like. But with that being said, in my opinion, I would much rather Splatoon 3 get a content extension. Now, when it came to Splatoon 2, I think by the end of the game's life, they really did about everything they could with that game. The difference with Splatoon 3 is, I think there is still room for more stuff, even if you can't do it in every area. And another thing is that I really do believe that the next Splatoon game needs to take some time in order to come out. Splatoon 3 was pretty fully fleshed out on its release, but it was still really buggy at the time, and pushed back even then. I'd love to see what they could do with even more time, especially being able to plan out the content that'll be added to the game over the next 2 years, which in Splatoon 3's case clearly was way different than what they initially had planned. Remember when Side Order was supposed to come out in the 1-year anniversary? Yeah. We really should have realized sooner that that first trailer was basically a bunch of concept art. As much as I would love to see Splatoon 4 in the future, for it to be the best it can be, I think Splatoon 3 needs a little bit more time in the sun, being able to try out and expand the game to its fullest potential, so that when Splatoon 3 is done, it gets to end in a better spot, and there'll be more things learned for Splatoon 4 to be the best game it possibly can be. And this would also help avoid the major drought between Splatoon 2 and 3 that I think would be a good thing to avoid here. So overall, for a better Splatoon 3 and future Splatoon 4, that's where my vote stands. But I could definitely see it going either way, and I'll be happy regardless of which one happens. It's exciting to think about what might happen in the future. But with that being said, let me know what you guys think. Are you expecting some kind of content extension for Splatoon 3, or do you just want to move on to the next game? Let me know in the comments below. I will see you all next time.